Yeah, so the other day, right, I saw this story about this person who ate an entire plane, and I'm like, I'm not sure if I'm reading this right. Okay, I was reading that right. Michel Lotito, also known as Monsieur Mange Tout, which is French for Mr. Eat All, had eaten an entire Cessna 150 plane between the years of 1978 to 1980. Yo, this person would be cutting up the plane into itty bitty pieces with a power saw and would just wash it down with mineral oil. So ignoring all the physical factors that contributed to this person's incredible ability, like having a thicker stomach lining and stronger than average teeth, the question is why? Why was Lotito motivated to do all of this? Or what made it so Lotito had an appetite for, these things that were not food? Yeah, as it turns out, Lotito had a psychological disorder known as Pica. First and foremost, Pica is classified as an eating disorder, which are conditions surrounding eating behavior that present as non-typical. Patients with Pica will develop an unusually high appetite for objects that are not considered food, or what will be called non-foods due to their lack of nutritional value. So some non-food examples include things like dirt, hair, nails. And I mean, as we've seen with the case of Lotito, some of these things can be very specific and, a little obscure. Some of the possible symptoms experienced by patients with Pica include anemia, which is when the blood is low in iron levels, as well as an imbalance in other essential minerals like potassium, calcium, and sodium. And additionally, patients with Pica might be experiencing constipation and blockages in, their small or large intestine. Currently, there don't exist any clinical diagnoses for Pica, and doctors will just be looking at clinical history as well as general eating patterns to diagnose those for Pica. But to sometimes help with diagnoses, additional tests can be performed for some of the symptoms that we've said before, like anemia, intestinal blockages, and also for any toxic side effects of what the person's consumed. Yeah, and how patients with Pica are typically treated involves a process where nutritional and mineral deficiencies are addressed, and doing so will often cause this eating behavior to subside. And in the cases where patients are still exhibiting Pica, behavioral intervention can try to mitigate habits. And so we also see that one of the causes for Pica is having these nutritional deficiencies. The thing is, there is not one singular cause of Pica. Pica could actually act as coping mechanisms for underlying health conditions such as OCD and schizophrenia. And actually, there are forms of Pica that exist as cultural practices. For example, in Andean cultures, it was very normal for individuals to eat clay. This subset of Pica is specifically coined as geophagia. Geo for rock, phagia for eat. This practice is believed to be more than 2,500 years old. And this is actually fascinating because the particles in this edible clay allowed people in the Andes to more safely consume potatoes. The potatoes found there were particularly high in glycoalkaloids, and the particles in the clay would actually stick onto these toxins and make it so they were less readily available to enter into the bloodstream. And coming back from that little tangent, I guess it's just pretty interesting how the body sometimes tries to compensate for nutritional needs by making us want to eat things that, may not be the best for us. Or, you can start a career eating planes and stuff.